Okay, today I will show you how to submit your manuscript to a journal. Most probably Elsevier or Springer I would try for this example. And in the last video, how to find a journal for your research publication, I have shown you and the cover letter manuscript, how to prepare it, right? So I'll go through those again. So this is your cover letter, so you should mention your name. So most probably the once I have highlighted, you should change accordingly, and your institutional address, the journal name, right, and the chief editor or editors, and the title and authors in the given order of your manuscript. And these sentences are more important because it says that you are confirming that your manuscript is not under review in any other journal, and all the authors have agreed to submission to this particular journal, right? And your details and everything here. Then it's done. Then you can go to your manuscript. I have not I think I have given a sample one. So your title should go here, and author, and this number means here I'm referring to that number with his affiliation, department of something, faculty of something, university, right? If he's from another institution, I can make two and copy this and make the second affiliation, right? So the star means the corresponding author. So that means mostly one author who responds to email received regarding this submission, and it's after acceptance also. So you can put his name and his affiliation and contact addresses here. And then I showed you this document is 2.0 line spacing, and usually I go with Times New Roman 12 points for the font size, and there's no strictly adhered guideline for the font size as I remember, but you should make sure you read the guide for authors in each journal homepage. There's a document called Guide for Authors. Please read that. They have mentioned what should be done, what should not be done, right? So you will see this document has 48 pages. Usually I have gone with submissions around 44 pages. With this 2.0 line spacing, obviously you will have many pages, so you can't avoid it. So but some journals like to have fewer number of pages, for example around 30. So that is given in the most of the guide for authors, but in the guide for authors in Elsevier pages, I think their limit was around 20 pages, but I don't think it is practical. So it's okay to exceed that. I mean, here I'm 48, meaning that with 2.0 line spacing, right? So usually it went okay, and all the references, they do not specifically mention a style. So I have, I think, referred always either IEEE or this is APA style, APA 7th, yeah, APA 7th style, and all the things, figures and everything here. Uh, so in medicine related journals, usually you will have to place only the caption here, saying that your figure is here, but at the end of the document you have to place all the figures in order, right? Under the topic of figures. Similar you have to do with tables. Usually the manuscript goes with like this. There are no figures in medicine related most of the journals I have seen. and but not in engineering related. I have seen mostly this works for engineering people, so don't worry. So and the tables also they have to do that. I think it is in the guide for authors in any case. So you better read any of these guide for authors before you go with the submission. And yes, we can go with uh, yeah, credit authorship I have shown you. So basically, it is what mentions that the things have been done by each author, right? Their contribution. And the last document is uh, the declaration of competing in interest right here, right? So authors declare that they don't have any conflict of interests, right? And in all the journals, please, so once you prepare your manuscript, please go with recently accepted articles in that journal and see before between references section and conclusion there are few statements that you have to mention. In this case, I have only mentioned acknowledgement, but sometimes they are asking us to mention funding statement, that declaration statement. So in that case, declaration in statement, you can mention it here under the topic of declaration, and the authors do not have any conflict of interest likewise. And in that case, I don't think you need to submit that declaration because it's already in your manuscript. But sometimes that they may ask to submit that document also, but it's just one line document, right? So references and everything are okay now. So you can go with the, so I have given instructions on how to choose a journal. So we would go with some journals like this. So I have chosen these journal. So it's 4.93 for impact factor. So that's very good journal. And if you want to, so please read this guide for authors. So when you click that, so this PDF, uh, this PDF you can download and see what are the instructions given for. So if you are submitting it first time, strongly recommend you to read that, right? And yeah, if you want to submit your article, so you just need to submit this your article, then it will direct you to journal submission page, right? So it's like this. So there are a couple of options. First, if you are a new user, you will have to register using this register now, right? You don't have any of these author login, reviewer login, editor, publisher, right? So you have to register. They will ask you details and you have to follow those steps and carefully register to this journal. And then they will ask you to re-login to the same page. Then once you have your username and password set in this during this register now process, you can enter it here and use author login. You are not a reviewer or editor or publisher. You are just an author. So you will have to use this author login. Okay. So once you register, let's imagine that you are the submission author. If you are not submitting, that's okay. You don't need to uh, worry on these all these steps. So somebody else might submit it for you, maybe your supervisor. So you will see that there are a couple of options: new submissions, revisions, completed. So the completed section gives you the papers has been already processed, whether they reject or accepted. And revisions means if your paper need any revision, right? So since you are submitting a research article, so you can start by clicking this submit new manuscript, right? Then they will ask you the article type, right? So they will ask several types: short communication, case study, full-length research article. So if your article is a case study, so you can go with this option, or else most probably if you will submit a full-length research article, so you can go with this, right? In some cases, if you are submitting a review paper, there will be an option to as review paper, right? Review article. So in that case, you can choose that, either a review article or full length research article, sometimes research paper. Likewise, the same option is there in other journals as well, right? So you can click proceed. And then it will ask you to uh, add these files. So I can drag and drop here. So first I will drag and drop the manuscript. So it's uploading. Right, it's done. So you, oh, sorry, it's the cover letter, right? So you have to, sorry, you have to change it. You have to delete it. So they will show you as the item cover letter. Description is also cover letter. What you have uploaded is manuscript, so it's not okay. You can select it and remove it, right? So for the cover letter, so you can drag and drop the cover letter. That's done. So these red color ones are anyway compulsory though. So these stars, right? Declaration, and then you have to submit the declaration. That's done. And credit authorship. It's also done. Other things are not compulsory, but obviously the manuscript should be compulsory, right? Otherwise, there's nothing. So that's what you are submitting. So this respond to reviewers means if your paper came with a major or minor revision, this once you address those review comments, then you have to submit your manuscript and the document which contains the responses to each reviewer's comment. That document is called the response to reviewers, right? Otherwise, these highlights I have shown you. So highlights are like this. You can prepare a simple Word document, few important points of your research. So these are called highlights. So they have some word or character limit for these highlights. So please follow up those guidelines, and highlights are that some people in some journals these graphical abstracts also are now a must, and other than that there are many things you can submit, but only these star color items and the manuscript only you have to submit, right? So once you check whether these are okay, so you are allowed to proceed. Okay, so I didn't submit the manuscript, right? Change it to manuscript. Select your manuscript and drag and drop, or either you can browse it from here. So you saw that in the manuscript I have included the title page with authors and everything, but in some cases, so this journal may not be double blind because the manuscript contains the title page which contains the author's details and everything, right? So that means reviewer can see who we are, but we don't know the reviewer. But in some cases, I have seen in especially Springer journals, they ask you to submit a title page separately and a clean manuscript without author information. So once you submit all the files, so manuscript which does not contain any author information or their names or institutions, so it just starting from your topic and then abstract and the rest of your paper, right? No anything, no any detail of who your team is, right? Who your team is, right? And then in that case, that can be considered as a double blind review. So reviewer doesn't know who you are, and you obviously don't know who the reviewer is, right? So now it's done. In some cases you can change this order. I'm not sure here. Yeah, you can't change it. Some cases you can in some of the journals. So you can proceed. So they ask you to classify your paper accordingly for related keywords. So my paper is, let's say, related to concrete, cement, and aggregates, right? So I would submit it. So I have to check all these things and go with relevant keywords for the classification. And this is an important step. So you have to suggest 2 reviewers for the submission. This is only for the completing of this submission. Even if you suggest any reviewers, the paper would not be sent to them, right? It's only for the submission, right? In some cases, you can suggest opposed reviewers also to whom your paper should not be sent to, right? If you don't know who are the reviewers, the best possible way is to uh, check big names, right? Like big authors. The big authors means like the persons who have a high research profile, right? That's what I usually call them big authors, right? And you can search for the from the papers you have cited. There might be good authors with a higher H index, have a higher research profile, right? You can search them in Google and add their names here, right? So you can add their first name and the last name and degree, PhD, and the position, whether they are professor, senior researcher, or something. So I think you have to obviously type this institution. So once you type this, let's say University of, let's try Melbourne. So they will suggest. So you have to pick the institution. Otherwise, if you just type it and see, set it there as it is, it will not save it, right? So email is a must. And the reason, so you can say, since your paper is related to civil engineering, since my paper is related to civil engineering, I can say he's an expert in civil engineering. If you're unable to find such reviewer from any of the papers, right? So my suggestion is to, in the journal or in a related journal, you can go for these editorial board, right? So these are high caliber researchers. So you can search for many names. So if you just copy it and paste it on Google, so they will direct you to their institutional page, which contain their email and all the details. So you can suggest them as a reviewer, right? That's okay. That's one way. Or else the other way is you can search for from your citations of your paper and um, mention them as a reviewer, and the reason you can say it as author of a cited paper, right? That's also an option. So I would, yeah, I think I have to add someone. I would add Professor Timabel. His PhD position is a professor. He's from University of Art. So reason is expert in civil engineering. So if you want to save it, you can save it from here. If you want to save it and go to the next reviewer, so you can choose this. I would add another one from University of Bath, Pete Walker. Okay. So that's done. I have suggested 2 reviewers. Sometimes it may ask you 5 even, right? So sometimes they ask you oppose reviewer. I would suggest not to fill that. That's an optional case. So the complete the manuscript. Your statement is so it's about your data. So you can mention what you are comfortable with. If you want to share your data, that's okay. So I would usually use data will be made available on a request, right? Sometimes it may ask you several questions like, did you use method X? Did you use data in brief? Likewise, I do not use them. So in that case, you can say, I did not use it. I did not use it, right? And they ask you whether the acknowledgement has been given. You can say yes. Likewise, some of the questions, if you have any such question, you can leave it a comment as for this video. Yeah, you can proceed, right? So I don't have any specific comments. I'll mention none. So that's for the editorial office. If you have any comments, I do not usually have those. So if your word is properly submitted, usually it should automatically give you the title here. Unfortunately, in this case, it's not. In that case, you have to type it, right? You have to type the the title, right? Yeah, right. So this is my title. Click next. And the abstract, unfortunately, it has not taken it. But most of the time, it automatically takes extracts those details. I don't know why. So if it's not, you can just simply, oh, this is not. So this is the abstract, and then keywords, keyword, and then authors. So you have to fill this, right? So you can put your name here, first name and the last name, and your degree. So usually it's better that a person with good research profile, preferably a PhD, uh, submitting this manuscript. It's better. It has some value than submitting by a person without a PhD, right? And your ORCID ID and your institution and all these things, you can mention it here. If you have any other author, you can add, right? You can add. So just type second author, but you have to type their name, right? Since I can't type just anyone's name, so I will just type author. See, so I have to mention their name, so keep adding the authors as you want, and make sure if you are, so you can change their order. If this is your first author, you can change the order like that. So it's the first author, and you anyway the submission author would default be the corresponding author, right? So you have to make sure you follow the same order of the authors given in the manuscript here also, right? So if this guy is the first author in the manuscript, you have to make him the first, and you are the second, you have to make it second. If there's another third or fourth, so you have to place underneath you 3 and 4, right? Like as you have to make the same order and click next. And if there are no any funding available, so if you have any funding source, you can click it here. So you can go for build approval. Since this is an open access journal, it will not ask you to about subscription or open access sometimes, but in the journals in which the both options are available, they will ask you, you have to go with the open access or subscription. So subscription means, so you don't need to pay any article publishing charge. Instead, the journal uh, authorize the paper that saying that you can't publicly share this article until this period, say 1 year or 2 years, right? So the article publishing charge is entirely zero. You don't need to pay any damn thing, right? If you go with open access, you have to pay the entire thing, right? So carefully choose that option if it appears here, right? Usually it appears after this build PDF for approval process. So you have to set the option whether you like to go with open access or subscription. Unfortunately, this journal is anyway open access. You have to pay the amount as I mentioned in the discount last video, right? If you are in category A or B country, there are it's here. It's here. I will show you. Usually, I'm not sure whether you can see this window. So it is separately appearing. I hope you can see it. I'm sorry if you can't see it. Let me. Not sure whether it will show any. Yeah, it says maybe it is maybe because it's an open access journal, but in most cases, with subscription journals, they will show you a place to tick whether you need to go with subscription or else an open access. So depending on your choice, you can select either open access or subscription and press proceed. Right here, it will not show because it's an open access. So you can after that you can set proceed. Right, so it will take some time to build this PDF here. So please wait until that is built, until that's built, right? Don't be in a rush that's saying it's not built until. So sometimes these editorial managers are uh, in breakdowns, so they are repairing it. So it takes then uh, it takes a long time to build these PDFs than it was used to, right? So in that case, you have to be patient, and it will build it eventually. So yeah, let's wait until it's done. Yeah, it's done, as you can see. So if you are not sure that you have correctly submitted all the things, you can always go back and edit the submission. And if you are sure that you have double checked all the files and it's ready to be submitted, so just before approving it, you have to accept these ethics, right? And before that, you have to view your submission. Otherwise, it will not allow you to approve it. So you can press click this view submission, so it will download the automatically generated PDF. So it's yeah, I clicked it. Should show it. Let us wait. So as you can see, it will show the automatically generated PDF with your cover letter and all the details, right? Manuscript here, so you can check whether the file is okay. And lastly, the author contribution and the declaration. So all the things are in order as you submitted. So after that, if all the things are okay, you can tick here and click approve. So it will ask if you have given the ORCID ID, so it will just approve it. Otherwise, it will ask you whether you want to sync with your ORCID ID. If you want, you can do it, or else you can opt it out. And if you want to remove the submission, you can remove it. So you have all the options and go ahead with the approval. So that's how you do it. Usually after the submission, so these status may change as submitted to journal or else new submission. But it will take some times, but sometimes the day you submitted also, the submitted status would change into with editor. So that means your paper is with the editor for initial screening process. So the editor in chief, or else it will be sent to co-editor or one of the editors to screen the paper, right? So they will screen your paper and check whether and determine uh, whether the paper is suitable for this journal, whether it has the significant scientific novelty to be accepted in, to be reviewed in this journal, not to be accepted but to be reviewed in the journal. So if it is okay with the initial submission, if the editor thinks that okay, this paper has something interesting, then it would go with the status under review, right? So after a couple of days, 3 to 4 days, it will change to under review, right? So that means your paper has been sent to reviewers. So that is under review. If not, if the editor thinks that this is not suitable, or whether the scope is out of scope, right? So the status after around 1 week would be changed into uh, decision in process. After the with editor, if you get decision in process, so that means your paper is going to be desk rejected. So that means editor has rejected your paper based on the novelty, uh, or else based on the novelty, or else the scope of your paper, right? So then your submission is process is over. You can either, sometimes they will ask you not to submit it to this journal again. Sometimes they would ask you can revise it uh, in a comprehensive manner and resubmit to the same journal for the consideration. It would not say it would accept. Uh, so all papers should go in a thorough review process. So if your paper is accept, I mean, if the initial screening is okay, so the paper would go to reviewers, and most probably two reviewers. So it will stay under review for a long time. For example, 2 to 3 months, maybe, right? Some journals are quick. So after under review process, so the reviewers send the comments and everything to editor, and based on their comments, the editor will judge your paper whether it should be accepted or rejected. If it is rejected, so just like the decision after under review, so it will show required reviews completed and then decision in process, right? So that means you will get your decision quickly within 4 to 5 days or maybe a week, right? So it will show you major revision. So mostly papers would not accept your, so these journals may not accept in the first place. So mostly they will give you major revision or minor revision, right? So you have to revise it accordingly and submit it back to the same journal with the comments and their responses. Uh, and with time it will be accepted then, right? If not, it will be rejected here, right? So that's all about this submission process. So so you will see these are two of the journals I have submitted. So I have submitted in January 13. So I think the reviews came within 1.5 months. And then I revised it back and submitted. It took another 1 or 2 weeks, and everything was done. And it was accepted, right? So this journal is quick than the other journals, but sometimes it would take time. So you have to be patient, and you should make sure the quality of your paper is there. Otherwise, it will be just rejected by the editor, and it should adhere to the scope of the journal, right? So if you have any questions, you can leave it always on in the comments. No problem at all. Yeah, thank you.